Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Drux Milan Unboxing. Saturday night, we see the return of big-time heavyweight championship boxing to Wembley Stadium in the UK, and there will be a crowd of no less than 94,000 in attendance for this event. Now, given that it's a rather weak undercard, it's an undercard that we would call a development show here in South Africa. It is amazing that Wembley Stadium is full to the rafters, and it's all thanks to the WBC and ring heavyweight champion of the world, the Gypsy King, Tyson Fury. Says something about his charisma. He will be taking on his long, patiently awaiting mandatory contender, Dillian, the body snatcher, Whyte. Now, I'm very happy for Dillian Whyte that he's finally getting his shot at the brass ring. It's long overdue. I think he's been worked over by the WBC so many times. And Dillian Whyte sports a very respectable record of 28 wins, 19 knockouts, and only 2 defeats. In 2015, he was the first guy that rang the warning bells on the vulnerabilities of Anthony Joshua when he wobbled him quite badly before Joshua gathered himself and knocked out Dillian Whyte. And then his next fight, he won the IBF title, and we all know how that journey went. But after his initial loss to Anthony Joshua, Dillian Whyte won 11 fights in a row, and he beat some very good opposition. 2 wars of Derek Chisora, former WBO champion Joseph Parker, Oscar Rivas, and even Robert Elenius, who's now sort of a resurgent heavyweight contender after his 2 wins over Kovnarski. So he's beat some really good guys, did Dillian Whyte. If we look at the heavyweight division, besides for a very elite, which we would say is Tyson Fury, and then bolder, the other belts, Alexander Usyk and Anthony Joshua. Besides them, and maybe Deontay Wilder, although we don't know what he's going to do with his career. Besides those, Dillian Whyte is clearly head and shoulders in accomplishments above anybody else in the heavyweight division. So his title shot is long overdue. Now, what does Dillian Whyte bring to the table? I think he's a reasonably well-schooled boxer. He's got a great hard jab. He's got a good left hook, and like his nickname of a body snatcher says, borrowed that one from Mike McCallum, but he really can go to a body with those hooks, and he does work the body well, and he has got respectable power. On the downside with Dillian Whyte, I do think, as his loss against Povetkin showed, sometimes he gets a little complacent. He was on his way to winning against Alexander Povetkin, was on the cusp of getting a stoppage win, and then Povetkin corked a left uppercut from hell and sent him to La La Land. Of course, in the rematch, Dillian Whyte had no trouble of disposing of Povetkin in 4 rounds, but that is part of his weakness. I think he sometimes has a lapse in concentration, like he had there against Povetkin, just when he had his opponent hurt, and then he ran into something. And the other weakness I think about Dillian Whyte is rather flat on his feet. He's not much of a mover. He's not the athlete of Deontay Wilder, for instance, but I think his technique is a lot more sound. And he has in the past had stamina problems. You could see in the Joseph Parker fight, he was in big trouble late, and he can be hurt. Parker sent him to the canvas. Joshua stopped him, and Povetkin stopped him. So he can be hurt. So I don't say he's chinny, but he can be hurt. He hasn't got the greatest chin in heavyweight boxing, put it that way. But he is a big underdog everywhere. If I look at the magazine that I do some writing for, The Ring, on their blog ringtv.com, on a poll, nobody is picking Dillian Whyte to win this. I think the consensus is sort of Fury easily wins a sort of a mid-round stoppage. But I think Fury would be foolish to overlook Whyte. And I don't think he is doing that, because Tyson Fury, of course, has got all the physical advantages. He's 6'9" compared to the 6'4" of Dillian Whyte. He's got a massive 85-inch reach. He's got by far the better reach of it too. He's got all the physical advantages. And he's much more of a natural fighter, I think, than Dillian Whyte is. He moves very well. He's ambidextrous, he can switch hit, he can go southpaw, he can go orthodox, he can fight both easily. And he's just a very natural fighter. On the downside, I think he's got the same weakness as Dillian Whyte, that he sometimes just loses focus for a moment. We saw that happening in the first fight against Deontay Wilder, with 2 knockdowns, where he went down, and that fight ended in a draw, the closest he's ever come to defeat. And then in the rubber match most recently, he went down twice before eventually stopping Deontay Wilder in that wall. And I think especially when he's got his opponent going, especially when he's dominating, he gets a sort of ADD and he loses focus and he walks into something not dissimilar to Dillian Whyte. So I think they both have that same sort of weakness. Fury has been down several times, as has Whyte. I don't think he's got the best chin in heavyweight boxing. He can also be hurt. But what he does have, he has got very good recuperative powers. You know, he does gather himself and get up and fight on, more so than Dillian Whyte does, even if Dillian Whyte managed to do better, see it out against Joseph Parker. And I think when he switched on, he's got the better stamina of the two. And he looks dialed in for this one. Dillian Whyte was kind of strange, wouldn't do any press conferences till the very end, barricaded himself and knocked himself away. That can be a good thing. It means he's training his backside off and he's super focused for us. Or it could mean that, his headspace is not right, but he's still mad about his cut of a purse or anything like that. If he allows himself to be distracted by that, it would be a big mistake. What has Dillian Whyte got to do to post a massive upset on Saturday night? Now, he's not going to win the fight in the middle of a ring, standing from a distance and boxing Tyson Fury. Fury is a hard guy to hit clean in the head. He's got to go for the body. He's got to be a body snatcher, like his nickname says. And another thing that a lot of fighters forget, if you can't hit a jab to the head, then hit it to the chest here, hit it to the stomach, hit it to the side. Just hit something so you can get your other shots in. So Dillian Whyte needs to be aggressive. He needs to pace himself well, and he needs to close the distance. He needs to hit Tyson Fury to the body, and then prevent Fury from tying him up and leaning on him. Because if Fury mauls and ties him up in the clinches and leans on him, he's going to get tired eventually. That is what he needs to do. He needs to close the distance, hit the body as much as he can, and try and win the fight that way by simply tiring down Fury and outworking him and wearing him down. I think that's the only chance Dillian Whyte really does have here. You know, he's got to close that gap. He can't win a fight on the outside. So it's rather obvious to me what he has to do. Tyson Fury, he just has to be Tyson Fury, and he's got to stay dialed in. Mustn't get in a stage where he's dominating Whyte and then run into something, because Whyte will be there. He's a dangerous puncher. A lot of people think Tyson Fury is just going to ice Dillian Whyte. I don't think so. I think he's going to have to work harder for it. Tyson Fury looks like a monster of a puncher because of Deontay Wilder. His career leans quite heavily on two men, Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder. And he didn't ice Vladimir Klitschko, did he? He didn't stop him. He won a close decision. But he did stop Wilder twice. And he had to grind out those stoppages. He had to hit him repeatedly. He didn't just send him to bed with a combination. It was grinding kind of victories. So a 6'9" man with 85-inch reach can punch. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think he's the premier puncher of the heavyweight division. I think Wilder, I think Anthony Joshua made better punches. And perhaps even Dillian Whyte could have a slight edge on power. But he is so tricky. He makes you miss. He tires you down. He leans on you. He pulls you around. He's a real fighting man. And then when you're tired, and if he's constantly hitting you, that power does count, and that's how he grinds down his stoppages. And I think Fury is going to control the distance. Whyte will have some success early on. I think he will get through a few shots, but I don't think he's got the innate boxing ability or savvy to stay out of his clinches and control the distance as well as he will need to. I think when he gets close, he's going to be tied up too much. And I think Fury is going to lean on him. He's going to be untied, mauling a fair for a bit. And as the rounds go on, I think Fury is going to hit for more telling blows and start picking Whyte apart. So I can see this as going a distance fight with Fury winning a clear decision. I don't think a shutout decision, but a clear decision. Or I can see Whyte eventually stripping punishment to the extent that his corner pulls him out, or that the referee stops the fight. So I'm thinking Tyson Fury here by a clear but hard-fought unanimous decision, or perhaps a late round stoppage here somewhere from round 9, 10, 11. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm forced to make a pick, My gut tells me that Tyson Fury is going to grind out one of those stoppage victories somewhere around round 10, right in the fight. So I'm going for Tyson Fury by late round stoppage. All the best to both warriors. And 94,000 people. I'm sure if you're lucky enough to be at Wembley, it's going to be a night to remember. Wish I could be there. But I'm planning a trip to the UK soon, so perhaps I'll see some of you there. But until we see each other again, enjoy the big heavyweight title fight. And remember, give this channel a like and a subscribe, and keep those gloves up.